next panel today. We are doing, this is on immersive sound and exhibition spaces, and I'm thrilled to introduce Eric Horstman and Hossi Hossack. Hi guys, how are you going? How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Hi, Steph. Hi, Hossi.
Nice to meet you, Adam.
So let's first, I just want to ask both of you to talk a little bit about yourselves, what you do, and a little bit of your work experience. Eric, do you want to start?
Sure, thanks. First of all, thanks for having us. It's a big pleasure to be here. My name is Eric Horstman. I'm based out of Berlin, Germany, and I do work for Genelec, the loudspeaker manufacturer from Finland. My role is a business development manager, and I'm more or less covering every country that is in need of immersive technologies. So, and that's also the reason why I am joined by my friend Hossi.
Awesome. Hossi, tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, I'm actually on site here with a nice Marvel show in Madrid. We are setting up and opening in 2 days. I'm working here as a sound supervisor, and with my team, LEM Studios in Berlin, we mostly create content for exhibitions, cinema, movie, TV, and yeah, a lot of surround immersive and happily Genelec Smart IP user here.
Very cool. I mean, I love your background. Love
Yeah,
Spider-Man back
That's my
there.
sound supervisor.
Perfect. So I'm just going to kind of throw questions out. You guys can kind of just, let's just do it like a conversation. So I wanted to ask both of you, in your opinions, what defines an effective immersive sound experience in an exhibition space? And how do you feel the technical design and creative vision both contribute to this? And this is for whoever wants to answer first.
Sure, I can start maybe.
Yeah, let's go.
Like for me, an effective immersive sound experience should always support the overall vision of the exhibition, and it can generally help to create an overall atmosphere, a sense of space, a sense of dimension. Either way, in more specific situations, it can be like part of the storytelling. Like if you, for example, look, you have installations with video or mapping and yeah, a narration like that.
Yeah, but I think also what is important also to understand when we, I mean, sorry if I go back one step and just define a little bit the word immersive, because I think it's a buzzword and everybody's using the word immersive wherever they can. And even though you're putting up 2 visual projectors, people think it's immersive. I think from our point of view, our understanding is more about audio, obviously, but it's also good that you put it in the question. But immersive audio, I think one thing that is important to understand, that we are free of a specific channel count. So to say, because we're, I mean, immersive in other experiences, being at the cinema, being at a home cinema, being at also personal, private streaming environment, is always pretty much connected to a certain amount of channels. But especially in experiences, in exhibitions, we are kind of free, and we have to go with a room plan that is given. So, and I think that is one of the important starting points to create these experiences.
So when you're designing soundscapes that are supposed to guide and engage visitors to an exhibition, what key factors do you take into consideration, whether these people are either supposed to be moving through a structured path or if they're supposed to be kind of all in an open space? Like, what does that look like?
I think it can actually be both. I mean, some exhibitions have a complete open space where only certain kind of areas have to be put in place or get in scene in light. And some are actually due to the I mean, physical dimensions of certain rooms and corridors are pretty much tied to a certain walkway where people can also get into a level of certain immersion, so to say. So it depends pretty much the floor plan, as far as I understand. Hossi, maybe you have something to add to this one.
Yeah, sure. floor plan is one thing. The other thing is producers, directors, curators. What do they want to achieve? And the most part for my situation is then like to balancing out all the dynamics of all the sonic events and its own complexity. Like that's like if I jump with the floor plan a bit further, the way how we work for with LEM studios is like we try to have a timeline. Like we have the floor plan and we have a timeline, what is happening and which places and when, and it follows it, so to say. And it's more like if you imagine, I was talking about ambience and narrative parts. Like we'd always try that in that timeline, things happening not at the same time. Like, so we talk a lot about cacophony and acoustics of the venues you are. It all depends. And yeah, and that's one way to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to some common challenges that you guys encounter in creating these immersive sound environments, how do you address those challenges? Like, what are they, first of all, and how do you address them in terms of like practical fixes that you can make?
I think I just can take that topic, what I just mentioned, like rooms, so different. The problem with these halls, they differ so much. And now in Madrid, we have a big pavilion. It's like 5,000 square meters. Before there, we're in Seoul, and we have like a museum. It was a K-pop museum. You have 4 floors with not a ceiling height. I think that's closely 20 meters here. Then we have like 4 meters. So it always depends on the venue you are. And the problem is we cannot expect to have like a really good high fidelity studio situation. We would like to achieve everywhere to have the most impact and most fluent way to transport sound. That's one challenge. Sometimes what I do to challenge these one things, that if I have a really big hall, I get some old speakers, little speakers, and I work with the room. I have to do something about it, and I point them directly into the ceiling, and and provoke the room to resonate in a way, and that makes it much more easier on the visitors' point of view to mix the music. It's very crazy psychological physics stuff happening, and that's one way how I counter these things. Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Horsi? Because now with a touring exhibition, like with Marvel or any other that you're working on, having more or less the same base content that needs to be reproduced in certain environments. Now, being in Madrid, you were in Korea, it was in New Zealand, it's going to the US. You always have different environments. What are you doing to the content to adapt it to those certain different venues?
Over the years, I like to work fast and quickly as I can because it's always time intensive here. I discovered having like all the music and the content like where we dry and have an extra reverb line that I can push in or push out. That's a really cool thing and quick thing to get something done. With my experience with these Genelec smart EPs, since they are kind of studio monitors, they react really good to EQing, compressing, saturation, and all this stuff. And the best example this year, we went to Kansas Union Station with another exhibition, and they have a wooden floor, historical wooden floor. So you have a lot of transients rushing through the hall like as okay, you have to balance that out. Then we went to like Seoul. I said that room was very tight, so I needed more reverb. I want to have the impression to have a big ambient hall, like even in these small rooms. And yeah, that's kind of the thing I do with that. Yeah.
No, I think that was good. I also had a question for you, Hossie, and a few of the other panels that we had today, DSP and beamforming microphones and how frequently people are using those in different installs came up. And I was wondering if either of those had much significant impact on your like engineering approach in different installs.
So we don't use any beamforming microphones or something. Since last year, we use the smart DSP speakers from Genelec, which is really a big jump. If I want to have something like beam steering with audio, I try to work with latency delays, small delays, so that I can have some cancellations at some points. But so for what is shown here, what is the narration of that exhibition, there's no need for that at the moment. Yeah.
And are you also putting or deploying like active acoustic systems?
No.
No? Okay, because that is one thing that we are working on a project right now actually also in Spain. Everything comes up to be in Spain.
Everything's in Spain.
Well, it seems to be a good place to be at the moment for this. Where we actually also are putting an active acoustic system in place, which is more or less generating artificial reverb on the source that is happening in that room or in that experience room. But it's not necessarily an experience room. It's more like a 360 art creative space, so to say, which has nothing to do with studio. But the same technology has been used and that Hossi is also using in his exhibitions. But it's with a layer of active acoustics. I was just thinking that this is also something quite interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And also, when working with networked audio in particular, what specific benefits and challenges does someone encounter, particularly in terms of control, flexibility, and visitor experience?
So, I mean, the biggest advantages of using networked audio, especially in loudspeakers, is in our case that it's just one single Ethernet cable, and everything runs on this one Ethernet cable, which is like an audio stream, which is a power connection over PoE and PoE plus, and the whole full remote management and calibration of the speaker itself. And I think for installation purpose, this is literally a no-brainer to go that way. Rather than telling somebody you have to pull an electricity line, you have to have audio, you have to have a CAT cable, and you name it. So installation, and I think also installation time is cut pretty much drastically down to a minimum. Remote capability is also easy. You can theoretically sit everywhere on the planet and dial into the system to have remote capabilities and check the health status of your audio network, with all the devices, but in our case also with the loudspeakers. And the speakers that we're talking about right now is also one thing could be in particular interesting. They also have an analog kind of, not to say fallback connector, but they do have an analog connector. And in a big networked audio, it's also sometimes interesting to have local sources at certain point of interest stations or something where just local audio needs to happen. And this can run in parallel on an analog input in this case. So from my point of view.
Yeah, and I can outline that here since we were doing that show here now 7 years. Yeah, before, like Eric said, we had to run the power cables, we had to run network cables for Dante Amphenol adapters. Then from there we have to run XLR cables, and it's a lot messy. And what happened here, since we are using like 60 Genelec smart FE speakers, 10 subwoofers, and for shop, lounge, and waiting area, some other speakers, we could cut like the rigging time nearly 4 days, since it got easier. We don't have that one point of source anymore. We have like a control room here. We have one main switch. From that main switch, there are 10 other switches connected with one Ethernet cable. From that switch, they are close to the places where it's happening. We run with 5 meter, 10 meter network cables, all the stuff for the Genelec speaker, and it's amazing. Everyone, since we use them, is so happy. Like from the crew, it's like, oh, it's so nice. And even like people that are not too much into music, sound design, audio, they can hear the difference. And that was the most exciting thing. Like even our producers, they have to lend the money for all that. I can hear the difference. And that's really amazing.
Being able to like hear the difference in an install like that, I can only imagine like how
the reproduction of sounds is yeah. There's just one challenge. I think since we are using now that bigger network, we're using a managed network. So that means you can't put a speaker on some port at the switch. You have to be careful where it goes. So like here, we have 3 bigger VLANs. So one is for video, one is for more default ticketing stuff, and one is for audio. And we clear like this port on this switch is for audio. They get all the plans, but sometimes in a hover, someone is connecting the wrong switch on the wrong port. That's the only thing that can happen, but can fix very easily.
Yeah, like this is super. You just plug it in the right place. That's.
But I think that can also become a challenge when networks get bigger, not only with speakers but with all the other network devices. That as we used to say, an audio engineer is now becoming an IT engineer. So there's another layer of education that is needed, definitely, to get a proper audio network running. And it's not the simplest thing on world, but it is not so crazy difficult, but it requires a bit of knowledge. So
and the benefit is so big.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like I'm sitting here with you guys talking with my laptop. I just take it and run through the exhibition and control everything just from my thing, and I'm there where it's happening, and if that makes me quicker.
And if you encounter an issue with, let's say, a speaker on a certain location or on a certain spot where it should not be, well, then it's just Ethernet, just move it, or if you need a second one, well, just connect the second one to that little spot, and then you don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel. I mean, flexibility is, as we all know in the industry, we have to be flexible, we have to be scalable, we have to adapt very quickly to new challenges. And networked audio, with all its beauty and flavors, is definitely a big helper.
Yeah, no, good points from both of you. So you guys have both kind of already done this a little bit, but I was wondering if you could share some examples or one example of a project where immersive sound played a really pivotal role. And I know, Hasi, you probably have a few where you can talk about this. And what unique techniques or solutions did you apply to meet the specific needs of, these different spaces?
Mm-hmm. Well, in our past production for Seminar exhibition, we had the chance to do the soundtrack for the Spider-Man exhibition, which was previewing in San Diego Comic-Con 2 years ago, and that was great because I knew what tools I need. I know what's my budget for speakers and so on. We are all in the same studios producing the music, working with the curators from New York, and we produced that soundtrack and we started in Dolby Atmos. So for us, always the goal is like to have a really good simulation of rooms, and Dolby Atmos is like a format that gives us that. And yeah, and we could like let all the people come in our studio, listen. Okay, that's close to what it will sound like, and that's so good selling point for all of the producers there. And on the other hand, since we pre-produced that in Dolby Atmos, we could have the chance like to have a vinyl of that, get it out. And Eric was that was the first time I got in contact with Eric, since Dolby Atmos was at that moment really new to me, and just ask him, hey, let's meet. What do you think? What can you change? And yeah, and he did all the mastering for that soundtrack, and that was really great. And our last show, or our first bigger smart IP show, was last year in New Zealand. That was the Marvel Earth Mightiest exhibition. We had always also the chance to do the complete whole sound design, so we call it like acoustic scenography. We wrote the music, and yeah, I had a big rig of smart IPs at that time in my studio, and I could mix on that particular speaker I use in the exhibition, and that made the whole production flow so much faster. And yeah, and there's a lot more coming, so I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And we had a project here in Berlin where you, Jose, were not involved, or not yet, which is actually an immersive club. So it's not necessarily an experience room, but I mean, in some way it is. It's a private club. It's not big, but it has like 4 interconnected rooms, and all those 4 rooms are equipped with immersive speaker layouts. So the moment you go in, even when you go to the wardrobe and you hang your jacket and leave your bags there, you're already kind of in an immersive soundscape. And going through the lounge, to the bar, to the dance floor, all these rooms have individual immersive layouts. And what makes it very interesting, but also difficult to operate a bit, is that you could literally let sounds fly through the whole building and through all the different rooms. And actually, you could attach sound to a person when it moves in that club. And so that is pretty crazy. But I mean, immersive was basically the mandatory goal to achieve there, and everything else had to follow the immersive idea in this whole club, being it lighting, being it the color of everything, and the usage of every piece of gear that's been used, even furniture, cutlery, everything. And but I think also, coming back to Hossie's point, I think one thing where immersive is, or let's put it that way, a commercial benefit from using immersive audio and immersive technologies in these kind of experiences is, like with the Spider-Man exhibition, that you have a second path for the content owner and for the rights owner to actually also create revenue by sending this out on an Apple Music stream in Dolby Atmos. You know, the original base where it has been created was an exhibition, but a second way to monetize is actually using that content on different paths and different systems. Yeah, so I think. Yeah.
And what advice would both of you offer to other professionals who are working in exhibition audio, or who specify that sometimes, especially when it comes to designing impactful soundscapes even with like a limited amount of space or a limited budget? Which I know that's a really big question. I'm sorry.
So no, you start.
Okay. I will have like 2 points. First is the storytelling. It is the message, and then it's it's the people you want to reach out. Like, immersive exhibition can be such a personal thing, and we always talk about, like, feels like in walkable cinema, and we want to touch people. And in my experience, people react very different to to the content. Everyone has a different hearing and perception of things. And I think that is the most important thing to be in mind, that for the producers, the storytelling is told, you say, and the people can enjoy it. So that's the most important thing. And how to get there, I mean, there's so many ways. I mean, I worked on the bigger venues where we had like really big space and we needed really big loudspeakers. Yeah, you can move a lot of air, but I think you can get creative if you have like not that much of a budget. Maybe just get some couple of smart IPs that is the foundation of your sound, and then if you had old speakers from old TVs or something, just cable them up and put some sound on it, like put it in some places where it can have an impact, like oh, what was that? And this, like, yeah, I mean, there's so much you can do, yeah, and I think to have people getting excited and having, of course, a satisfied customer, that's the two things I would stress.
I think just to add one thing, I mean, it's absolutely, I mean, second this completely, and I mean, the ultimate goal for a director, for a producer, is more or less to, I mean, transport emotions, and it's, I mean, that's what you do, and immersive audio in especially helps a lot to trigger emotions and to transport emotions even better that you could do it with mono or something. But I also agree. I mean, it doesn't always have to be 100 speakers somewhere. Sometimes it's just better to have more than 2, which is what we're used to in many of those places, like stereo stuff, and just put like up 5 speakers or 7 speakers or 6. It'll already create a lot of impact when the story and when the content that you want to put up there is worth it and is actually also embracing it. So yeah, but with the increased technology, also the demand for better content is also kind of going hand in hand. So
No, that's a good point. I think that your point back to making someone feel an emotion does not always equal just louder sound.
no, exactly.
That's
It's not,
yeah.
definitely not. It can be anything. It can be very personal. It can be very close. It can be anything. But that's a very good combination between like high-end technology and high-end content. So, and then when these two go along, then mission accomplished.
Yeah, I know we're kind of winding down here, so I did have one more question that I wanted to ask both of you, and it is a very easy one. After, we say goodbye here and people want to connect with you guys, where can they find you? Eric, can you go first?
Well, like everybody, probably you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also look on genelec.com. You'll find me within the European sales department, and but on LinkedIn, I think my name only exists once. What I also heard were from the speakers before us that, but yeah, Eric Horstman is a unique combination. Looks like so. You'll find me on LinkedIn. For the younger audience, you can also find me on Instagram. But I think LinkedIn is a good starting point.
Perfect. Hossi, what about you?
Yeah, same for me. LinkedIn, Markus Hossi Hossack. Find me. I think there's not so many of them. Or lamstudiosberlin.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much. I have appreciated your time, and it's been great to ask you guys these questions. And also, thank you so much to Genelec for sponsoring this panel. It's been lovely. All right, so we are going to go ahead and roll a video from Genelec, and then we're going to bring Megan back on.
Whenever people visit, they want to be inspired and entertained. Offer an exceptional visitor experience with Genelec, making museums, galleries, and retail stand out from the competition. Combining premium audio with beautiful aesthetics. Superior sound leads to happier people who want to stay longer and come back again. Genelec delivers comfortable background music, targeted sound for attractions, clear announcements, and enveloping soundscapes. Always clear, intelligible sound, whatever the space, with tools to tailor the sound to suit each environment. Active loudspeakers make systems easy to design and install. 4000 series with analog connections and pure performance. Smart IP series for complete control with audio, power and management on a single networked cable. Offering 120 custom colors to suit any decor. And flexible mounting options. Environmentally friendly production and materials. And raw aluminium versions with no paint or lacquer. Outstanding build quality for decades of reliable service. For museums, galleries and retail. Raise the quality of the experience with Genelec.